朋友们，高志凯教授最近又去怼印度人了。大家都知道高教授因为英语流利，在国际媒体上经常代表中国发表意见。那么这一回呢，他被印度的媒体邀请上节目，谈论当下最热门的印巴冲突。相关视频片段放在节目后半段，我先聊几点浅见。那么这一次高教授呢，遭到了印度主持人以及一个印度专家的围攻。这个主持人非常的粗鲁，没有礼貌，一副狂妄自大的样子。从他的语气中你能明显感觉到，他就属于那种最典型的被洗脑的印度黑咖喱。节目的一开场，他就兴师问罪，质问高教授：中国怎么可以称巴基斯坦为铁杆兄弟以及全天候的伙伴呢？而且还采用巴基斯坦的说法，要进行公正的调查。这一上来就把我给搞懵了。究竟现在跟印度发生冲突的是中国还是巴基斯坦呢？这个货胆子不小，居然还敢质问中国。我要是在场，直接就开骂了呀！你他妈算老几呢？给中国提鞋都不配的玩意，你也有资格对我们的政策指手画脚，也不撒泡尿照照自己的怂逼矬样。当然了，高教授不像我这么的直接比我要儒雅的多。他是讲事实摆道理，苦口婆心，想要劝告这些黑咖喱不要冒险开战。对话的过程中这个主持人呢还说了一句特别搞笑的话。他说看来我们要撤回中印关系正常化的举措，我们刚刚开通的两国直航航班要给断掉。这话一出我都整懵了，没听错吧？这就好比一个人在说我对你很生气，你再这样我就砍自己一刀了，怎么样？怕了吧？这个黑咖喱脑袋里装了大大的一坨，他这是在威胁谁呢？他该不会以为中国好怕吧？航班你断掉就断掉呗，两国关系糟糕就糟糕嘛，搞得好像离了你阿三，中国就活不下去一样了，太搞笑了吧？你看我们生活中需要阿三的存在吗？你能找到一件阿三生产的产品吗？印度神油不算印度本国根本就没这个玩意，那是香港人搞出来的。而且所谓的印度神油在国内情趣用品市场也是边缘的产品，一听这个名字你就知道那是三无的小厂家搞出来的，正规的大厂不会用这么 low 的名字。节目中在场的其实还有另外一个印度专家不过呢他说了什么我也没在意，反正感觉就跟放屁一样。而高教授反驳的话中，其实最重要也最有价值的就是在印度的媒体上正大光明公开的告诉这些黑咖喱们，不要低估中巴之间的合作关系。尽管我们并不属于传统意义上的盟友，但中国对巴基斯坦是有相关承诺的，我们会确保维护巴基斯坦主权和领土完整。说白点就是在警告印度，如果你敢对巴基斯坦动手，中国一定下场援助巴基斯坦。这个话其实是非常有分量的。大家还记得之前联合国耿爽面对美国人的质疑时扔出了一句重磅的话，他说如果中国真的下场援助俄罗斯，那战争早就结束了。中国人能公开说出这句话，就知道我们有相当的底气和实力。连俄乌这一种涉及到全球最强大的几个军事集团之间的战争，中国都有一锤定音的力量，更别说印巴这一种地区级的战争了。中国呢，在军事上不会大规模援助俄罗斯，但是在印巴问题上，中国是没有任何顾忌的，一定是公开援助。如果巴基斯坦独自跟印度全面开干，结果呢必然是两败俱伤。虽说印度的综合实力要压过巴基斯坦一头，但是在战场上这部分的优势无法转换成碾压的实力，最后一定是谁都吃不下对方，打成另一个旷日持久的两伊战争。但是如果中国援助巴基斯坦，那战场形势就会变成一边倒，印度会迅速的被击溃。巴基斯坦人口2.5亿，所以根本不存在乌克兰那种征兵难的问题，兵员要多少有多少，它缺的就是武器装备跟情报支持。再加上中国跟巴基斯坦又是陆地接壤，有600公里的边界线，所以大批的武器往巴基斯坦运简单又快速。 武器装备源源不断，要多少有多少，而且质量又好，先进程度也高，那都是首屈一指、无可挑剔的尖货呀。某种意义上来说如果印巴真的全面开打，其实就是中印开干了，只不过中国这边是巴基斯坦作为代理人、作为雇佣兵在替我们打而已。最后呢，关于高教授我也提一点，之前我也分享过高教授的辩论视频，其实也有不少的观众认为，尽管高教授呢有些话还挺强硬的，但总体给人的感觉还是比较客气，没有那种狠劲，给人感觉还是偏软。这一点呢，我也不否认，但是我也要帮高教授说几句。首先呢，高教授他毕竟属于上个年代的知识分子，他们成长于中国积贫积弱的年代，尽管现在中国强大起来了，中国的学者腰杆也更加硬了，说话的底气也更足，但毕竟他们人生中大部分的时光，中国还都不够强大，所以他们长久以来形成的风格还是那种客客气气、四平八稳，不要引起冲突。这个呢是时代的产物，它不是高教授个人的问题。但是呢，我们对未来要充满信心了，因为随着中国发展，面对外国的挑衅，我们一代人会比一代人更强硬，也更自信，该怼就怼，该骂就骂。而现在就有一个现成的例子，沈毅沈毅呢是1976年出生的，中国开始明显强大起来是从08年北京奥运会开始，那个时候沈毅30出头，学术生涯正在上升的初始阶段，他的学术研究过程也正是见证着中国强大的过程。沈毅现在的风格有多么强硬，大家都知道，跟郭正亮三妹做节目经常一顿大骂，搞得空气都凝固了，局面超级尴尬。他骂台独都这么猛了，要是对上节目里这个黑咖喱那不是劈头盖脸毫不留情一顿羞辱吗？而沈毅他也只是70后而已，你再想想未来80后、90后、00后，他们的战斗力会有多猛呢？他们未来面对这些外媒的挑衅，还会像高教授这样，好歹给他们点面子吗？所以对于高教授，我们应该给予足够的掌声。那至于想要进化成最强的炮手，还需要看沈毅以及更多下一代的学者了。
How can the Chinese foreign minister continue to call Pakistan an ironclad brother and an all-weather strategic partner, and also use the same language which the Pakistani side is using, calling for an impartial probe, when in the past, impartial probes have really not got anywhere for India in terms of, calling out these terror groups and getting the Pakistani state to act against these terror groups?
Thank you very much for having me. First of all, the deterioration of the situation between India and Pakistan as we speak is a reason for great concern. These are two big countries, both armed with nuclear weapons, and over the decades they have fought many times. So this is the right time to call on both India and Pakistan to exercise the maximum restraint and seek a peaceful solution, because otherwise the consequence will be too much for either India or Pakistan to bear. Now, secondly, when you talk about terrorist attacks, you may know inside Pakistan there have been terrorist attacks against the Chinese nationals. And we actually lost quite a few Chinese nationals inside Pakistan. But we always called for a thorough investigation into what exactly is happening behind the scene, who was pulling the trigger, who was committing all these atrocities. And I think China is using the same philosophy to apply to this particular round of attack, because the attack may be initiated by anyone rather than by the government of Pakistan. This is time for both India and Pakistan and all the other stakeholders to work very closely to get to the bottom of the situation, rather than allowing this attack to be the
Professor
trigger
Gao,
of
last
escalation.
year when there were the Chinese CPEC projects that were attacked in Balochistan, and I saw the Foreign Ministry's statement, it did not mince any words. It certainly did not call Pakistan an ironclad brother in the aftermath of the attacks that killed Chinese nationals in Balochistan.
the point is very simple. We need to call for impartial and complete and thorough investigation into the background of this attack before any country should seize this opportunity to use this attack as the trigger for escalation of tensions or even conflict between India and Pakistan. Now, the third point I want to add, please, with your permission, is that China and Pakistan are all-weather ironclad allies. No one should second-guess this alliance between China and Pakistan. China will always come to Pakistan's help and assistance whenever Pakistan's sovereignty and territorial integrity will be threatened by any country. So this is a very serious matter. You're talking about a war between Pakistan and India on the one hand, and then you are talking about the ironclad alliance between China and Pakistan, and China's full commitment to defend Pakistan's sovereignty and territorial integrity.
I'm glad, Professor Gao, you've been upfront here on our show. Professor Chalani, at least you can't fault him for hiding the Chinese game. He's upfront and he's saying that it'll come to Pakistan's defense, which is its ironclad brother. I was going through the amount of weapons that the Chinese have supplied to Pakistan. It's full of 2 pages full, from JF-17 fighter jets to Yuan-class submarines to the P-10 and P-15 missiles. I mean, 60% of Pakistan Army's weaponry today comes from China. And Professor Gao, I have issues with what you said, but I certainly will not fault you for being forthright. So, Professor Chalani.
Well, this attempt to draw a false equivalence argument, trying to place the victim and the attacker on par, and then distorting why Chinese nationals have been killed in Pakistan. They have been killed in Pakistan because they have pursued projects in areas of separatist unrest. These separatist groups have warned China against exploiting the mineral resources and other natural resources in those lands, especially Balochistan. And yet China, with the assistance of the Pakistan military, has engaged in reckless exploitation of the mineral wealth of Balochistan. That's the reason why Chinese nationals have come under attack in Pakistan. In this case, here is one nation whose military has had long-standing ties with terror groups, cozy relationships with these terror groups, which has been responsible for serial attacks on civilians in India, that has been labeled by the West as a mecca of terrorism. China today has the audacity to defend Pakistan and to say openly that it will come to Pakistan's assistance if its territorial sovereignty and integrity are threatened. The fact is that this nexus between China and Pakistan is a clear warning to India that India faces 2 regional adversaries, both of which are nuclear armed, both of which are revisionist past. Yeah. They are revisionist because they seek to change their borders with India. Both are not content with the status quo. Both are openly hostile to India. And therefore, India should be under no delusion.
No, India should claw back on this whole road to normalization. I mean, we have just announced that we're resuming the Mansarovar Yatra. We've just announced that we're resuming direct flights between Delhi and Beijing. India should claw back. I mean, today, Professor Gao, there are credible media reports, there is satellite imagery to show that Chinese logistical movements, including fuel and engineering supplies, near Pakistan's northern regions. Can you categorically confirm or deny to our viewers who are watching here in India that if a situation were to escalate between India and Pakistan, that China will not come to Pakistan's aid, providing it military and logistical supplies?
Thank you very much. Allow me to make several very brief points. First of all, I have great respect for India as a country and as a nation. On the other hand, allow me to emphasize the size of the Chinese economy today is about 5 times as big as India's economy. This is the reality. But the point is, If India wants to shut itself out of China, it's in the detriment of the Indian people. So don't talk to me about closing China away from India, because you will do that with great harm to the fundamental interest of the Indian people. That's number one. Number two is don't ever underestimate China's commitment to Pakistan to defend Pakistan's legitimate interest of its sovereignty and territorial integrity.